In 2025, Nissan sold its own headquarters. The global head office in Yokohama, the building that represents 90 years of Japanese industrial pride, sold to raise cash, then leased back for 20 years so the company could keep working inside a building it no longer owns. Around the same time, Nissan announced it would stop production at Oppama, its flagship factory, the plant Japanese car makers call a mother plant, the birthplace of the Leaf. And it agreed to sell its factory in South Africa to Chery, a Chinese automaker, one of the very rivals eating its markets, a company selling its roof, closing its birthplace, and handing its factories to its competitors. That was last year. This year, Nissan is projecting another loss, around $4.2 billion. 2 consecutive years, nearly $9 billion gone. The recovery plan underneath it reads like triage. 20,000 jobs eliminated. Factories cut from 17 down to 10. And in Britain, home of its largest European factory, Nissan just fell out of the top 10 best-selling brands for the first time in memory, overtaken by Chinese badges that didn't exist there 2 years ago. And if there's a Nissan in your driveway or on your shopping list, this isn't just corporate news. A shrinking car maker means thinner dealer networks, slower parts, and softer resale value. That bill lands on owners first. Here's what makes this story different from every collapse we've covered on this channel. There's no scandal at the center of it, no private equity raid, no fraud, no single catastrophic bet. Nissan is something rarer and honestly scarier, a company collapsing in slow motion, one postponed decision at a time, over 25 years until all the postponed decisions came due in the same moment. And the strangest part? Nissan has died before, once. 25 years ago, and the way it was saved back then is exactly why it's dying now. To understand the slow collapse, you have to start with the fast one. By 1999, Nissan was finished. 2 decades of bloated bureaucracy, too many factories, too many models nobody wanted, and more than $20 billion of debt. Japanese banks wouldn't lend anymore. The proud rival of Toyota was months from bankruptcy. And in Japan's corporate culture, where companies simply do not admit failure, nobody inside Nissan could swing the axe. So the axe came from outside. France's Renault bought a controlling stake and sent in an executive named Carlos Ghosn, a Brazilian-born, Lebanese, French-educated cost-cutter with a nickname that told you everything, Le Cost Killer. Ghosn did what no Japanese executive culturally could. He shut 5 factories. He cut 21,000 jobs. He tore up the cozy supplier relationships that had quietly bled the company for decades. Japan was horrified, and then the results landed. Within 2 years, Nissan swung from near death to record profits. It became the most famous corporate turnaround on earth. Ghosn became a rock star, literally a manga comic hero in Japan. Nissan was saved, and that's precisely where the slow collapse begins, because the rescue taught Nissan a lesson that would quietly poison the next 20 years. When things get bad enough, a savior arrives. The Ghosn machine had one setting: bigger, aggressive global volume targets, new plants on every continent, sell, sell, sell. And when demand didn't keep up, discount. Push cars into rental fleets, pile incentives on the hood, whatever kept the factories running. For years it looked like growth. But analysts watched something corrosive happening underneath. The discounts were quietly destroying the brand. When your cars are always on sale, customers learn to never pay full price. And used values sink, which makes new cars harder to sell, which demands more discounts. Nissan was training the market to see it as the cheap option, while its models aged and the innovation budget thinned. The empire was expanding and hollowing at the same time. And then, in November 2018, the whole leadership structure detonated in a single evening.
Reporting that the chairman of Nissan, Carlos Ghosn, is to be arrested by Tokyo prosecutors for alleged violations of the country's financial laws.
The savior of Nissan arrested on the tarmac of a Tokyo airport, accused by his own company of underreporting his pay and misusing corporate assets, charges he denies to this day.
These allegations are untrue, and I should have never been arrested in the first place.
What followed reads like fiction. Ghosn spent over a year under strict bail conditions in Japan, and then in December 2019, he vanished. He was smuggled out of the country, hidden inside a large box for audio equipment, aboard a private jet, resurfacing in Lebanon beyond the reach of extradition. One of the most famous executives on the planet escaping justice or persecution, depending on who you ask, inside a packing case. The world treated it as a thriller. For Nissan, it was a decapitation. The alliance with Renault, the very thing that saved the company, collapsed into years of distrust and paralysis. Leadership churned, strategy froze. And all the while, the products aged, the discounts deepened, and the two most important shifts in modern car history arrived at Nissan's door. Nissan missed both. Here's the cruelest irony in this entire story. Nissan saw the future before almost anyone, and then gave it away. In 2010, Nissan launched the Leaf, the world's first mass-market electric car.
Today is a milestone in automotive history. Nissan is delivering their first all-electric Nissan Leaf today to the first ever customer in the world.
For years, it was the best-selling EV on Earth. While Tesla was still a niche curiosity, Nissan had the head start every automaker on the planet would kill for today. And then, it stopped. The Leaf barely evolved. The follow-up models came late or not at all. The battery and charging lead evaporated. The company that invented the affordable electric car watched Tesla take the crown, then watched BYD take it from Tesla, while its own EV lineup gathered dust. That was the first missed wave. The second was hybrids. And this one is almost unbelievable. As American buyers cooled on pure EVs and stampeded toward hybrids, Toyota and Honda were waiting with full hybrid lineups and record profits. Nissan's US showrooms had for years essentially nothing to offer them, the single hottest segment in its single most important market. And Nissan simply wasn't on the shelf. Add China, where Nissan's sales have been cut roughly in half as BYD and its siblings devoured the market. Add the aging models everywhere else. By late 2024, the numbers stopped being embarrassing and started being existential. Operating profit down 90% in half a year. 9,000 jobs cut in a first wave. The dividend gone. And so Nissan reached for the lesson it learned in 1999. Things were bad enough. Time for a savior. In December 2024, the rescue appeared. Merger talks with Honda, a $60 billion combination that would have created the world's third-largest automaker. Two Japanese icons joining forces against the Chinese wave. For a few weeks, it looked like 1999 all over again. The outside rescue arriving right on cue. Then, in February 2025, it collapsed. And the reason it collapsed tells you everything about Nissan's condition. Honda, reportedly unwilling to treat a shrinking Nissan as an equal, proposed making it a subsidiary. Nissan's leadership refused. The proud company that once rivaled Toyota would not become anyone's junior partner, even to survive. The talks died, the CEO was ousted within weeks, and a 20-year company veteran named Ivan Espinosa inherited the wreckage. What came next was the plan with the telling name, Re-Nissan. Not grow, not win, redo. Factories cut from 17 to 10, including Apama, the mother plant, whose lines fall silent by 2028. The headquarters sold and leased back. Assets sold to Chery, the Chinese group whose brands are now outselling Nissan in Britain. Bond markets tapped at junk-rated cost just to refinance the debt wall. And to be honest with you, because this channel doesn't do fake funerals, there are real signs of life inside the triage. Nissan still sits on serious liquidity. The cost cuts are ahead of schedule. It even squeezed out a small quarterly operating profit this winter and raised its outlook. A new Leaf launched at under $30,000, one of the cheapest EVs in America. Nissan is not dead, and it is genuinely fighting. But fighting for what is the question? Because this year's projected loss, the second $4 billion year in a row, includes the cost of the surgery itself. The company is shrinking on purpose, betting that a smaller Nissan can be a living Nissan. Sales keep sliding in Britain, in China, in Japan itself. And every month, the Chinese brands take another half point of another market. So what is the slow collapse exactly? It's what happens when a company survives a near-death experience and draws the wrong lesson from it. The 1999 rescue taught Nissan that decline gets fixed by dramatic outside intervention, not by daily discipline. So the hard choices got postponed. The aging models, next year's problem. The discount addiction, next quarter's problem. The EV lead squandered one delayed decision at a time. The hybrid gap noticed too late. None of these was fatal on its own. That's the trap of the slow collapse. There's never a single moment where the alarm sounds, just 25 years of small deferrals arriving all at once as $9 billion of losses and 20,000 pink slips. And here's the difference between 1999 and now. The reason this chapter is more dangerous than the first. In 1999, a savior existed. Renault had the money and the will. In 2025, Nissan went looking for its savior. And Honda looked at the books and said, only as our subsidiary. Renault is stepping back. The lenders of last resort are bond markets charging junk prices. This time, the list of rescuers is empty. Whatever saving happens, Nissan has to do itself, smaller, humbler, in a building it no longer owns. 25 years ago, the man sent to save Nissan became so famous, they turned him into a comic book hero. When it all went wrong, he escaped Japan hidden in a box. The company he saved is still in Japan, still building cars, still bleeding, and still searching, one factory closure at a time, for its own way out of the box. These videos take a lot of research and production to put together. If you found it valuable, a like and subscribe goes a long way. It's free, and you can always change your mind. See you in the next one.